Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Tuesday edition of the show, our first episode of the week. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend, watching some football and enjoying some time off. We are back in the saddle for week one of the regular season of the NFL. We're going to talk about some big news as Yaya Diaby, the coveted outside linebacker for the Bucs, returned to practice on Monday. We'll talk about his impact returning to the lineup and a lot more. So let's get into it. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at pewterreport.com, rocking his Kansas State polo today. It is SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, congrats on a 1-0 start for the Wildcats, and good to be talking to you today.
Yes, you too. And so far, so good. Sorry about the Florida State game for you Seminole fans out there.
Both that was a disaster.
Yeah, it really was. And also for the Florida Gator fans, RIP. So right now, if you go to USF, UCF, you're in the driver's seat. Miami, yeah, you're in the driver's seat right now in the state of Florida. So we'll see how the state continues, but been a wild week one for college football. I'm sure there are plenty of surprises in store for NFL action this particular Sunday as things kick off. Of course, there's the two games prior to that. Thursday night, we'll see the Baltimore Ravens invade Kansas City to try to do what the Detroit Lions did last week, which is get that week one win at Arrowhead. A hard thing to do. And then, of course, Brazil, Friday night, Eagles and Packers. Those two games will kick the weekend off prior to the weekend.
And an important thing for Bucs fans too, Scott, is three of those four teams the Bucs play against this season.
Yes.
So obviously everyone knows who Patrick Mahomes is and stuff like that, but it's a good early start to get some early scouting on the Chiefs, Ravens, and the Eagles, who the Bucs obviously play early in the season. So a lot of important viewing for Bucs fans this week before the Bucs even play, and then of course the grand finale with the Bucs playing at 4:25 against Washington. By the way, just wanted to give some quick shout outs. Alighton saying podcast today, finally going to be able to catch it live. Awesome to see that. So welcome to a live viewing. And Loomis says first time catching it live from the UK.
Nice.
Go Bucs. That's awesome to see. Of course, we will have roll call today at 4:20. So feel free to put in the location then. But want to give an early start to some newcomers to the podcast, at least watching it live, new coming in that sense. So appreciate that for you guys. And of course, we got a super chat. You know our rule. If you super chat us, we are happy to get to your comment or question ASAP. And this one actually happened right before the show started. So Luke's Batiste getting right after it. Hopefully the Bucs have a great first start the way that you did with this podcast today. Thanks for the $1.99 super chat, who says, I still got all my money on a J-Mac touchdown this Sunday. Of course, talking about Jalen McMillan. I mean, if he looked anything like he did in that last preseason game, making that nice acrobatic catch on the throw from Baker Mayfield, that will be quite the start for Jalen McMillan. And I think he's going to factor it pretty big to the offense this year.
This is an astute observation from obviously a very educated Pewter Report podcast viewer. I'm sorry, I'm a little biased, Matt. Maybe you are too, but the Pewter Report podcast viewers, the pewterreport.com readers, listeners, they're the smartest Bucs fans around. Maybe it has something to do with the knowledge that we're dropping, but maybe it also has something to do with the fact these are just some smart people. Let's go back in time a little bit, shall we? Week one last year, Trey Palmer caught a touchdown on opening day. Why? Because his name was not Mike Evans. It was not Chris Godwin. It was Trey Palmer, and he benefited from some favorable matchups there in week one. So, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jalen McMillan, who is officially, as of today, on the depth chart when it was released by the team, has been named that wide receiver 3 on the depth chart. No surprise there. Something Matt and I forecasted dating back to training camp. He was going to be wide receiver 3. So now that that's set in stone, wouldn't be surprised at all if J-Mac does get a week one touchdown, just like Trey Palmer got last year in that role.
Oh, no question about it. We saw it last year, and I think we'll see it even more this season. Obviously, Mike and Chris are going to be the go-to guys, the big-time producers for this team. Rashad White as well. But there were several moments last season when other players chipped in, played a big part, and even one with Trey Palmer scoring a touchdown was big time. Cade Otton scoring that late touchdown against the Atlanta Falcons, and scored against the Texans. Didn't end up being a win for the Bucs, but the offense did their part in that moment. Cade Otton showing up in some big time moments. So Jalen McMillan, I think, not only is going to be a guy that will have his fair share of opportunities, he's going to be a big time contributor in this offense. Like in years past, it's been, over 1,000 yards from Mike Evans, a lot of production from Chris Godwin, sometimes also 1,000 yards, maybe, around 900, and then a severe drop off by the next quote unquote producer of the Buccaneers. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I'm not saying the Bucs are going to have 3 1,000-yard receivers. That would be insane if they did, and a great season for Tampa Bay. But if we're going to guess that Mike is 1, Chris is 2 in terms of like production of receiving yards, I don't think it's going to be an insane drop-off with Jalen McMillan at 3. I mean, maybe a difference of 200 to 300 yards. That's still an upgrade compared to, what Tampa Bay was bringing in the offense last year. So Jalen McMillan is going to play a huge role for the Bucs this season. And of course, he's the future at wide receiver too.
You're exactly right, Matt. Let's go back to that final preseason game against the Dolphins. We saw the trust that Baker Mayfield has in Jalen McMillan to basically throw up a 50-50 ball, right, in coverage and let Jalen McMillan go up and get that. That play ended up being inside the red zone and set up that touchdown run by Rachaad White. Great, beautiful throw by Baker Mayfield, and a great catch at the high point by McMillan. It just shows the trust that's there. And I think at times that trust kind of waned a little bit with Trey Palmer because he had some drops, and he and Baker weren't on the same page. Go back to that Lions game, a couple painful overthrows right there between those two. But with McMillan, it's just been a little bit more consistent, a little bit more steady. And even though Palmer came on late at the end of last year, go back to that Saints game where he had 84 yards worth of receptions, including a touchdown, and then the nice catch and run that he had against the Eagles in that playoff game. There's some trust there, but it almost seems like there's more trust with McMillan. At least the coaching staff feels that way. That's why he's wide receiver 3.
And that's the biggest factor, Scott. If we go back to the Super Bowl winning team in 2020 and the team that won 13 games in 2021, the biggest thing was you couldn't cover everybody. There was always going to be someone consistently open, whether it was Mike, Chris, Antonio Brown, or Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have that Gronk type of figure just yet, and I'm not comparing Jalen McMillan to Antonio Brown by any means. If anything, Cameron Johnson's more like that.
Right.
But as far as a consistency factor, and as far as when defenses specifically game plan to try to take Mike Evans out of a game with double teams and things like that, or try to bracket Chris Godwin, what's the other option for Tampa Bay? Jalen McMillan is the other option. But that doesn't mean that Mike Evans isn't going to be a big-time player for the Buccaneers once again. I'm fully predicting him to get 1,000 yards once again. I don't see that slowing down. I think Liam Cohen is going to be a big reason why Mike Evans once again gets over 1,000 yards. As David Van Dunn has a $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much, David, who says, Evans, 120 yards plus a touchdown. Book it. That would be a heck of a game for Mike Evans. Remember, he scored a touchdown in the first game of the regular season last year against Minnesota. And it was a quiet first half by the Bucs offense overall. And then once they got Mike going, surprise, surprise, the offense started to play much, much better. There's going to be opportunities, not just on Sunday against Washington, but throughout the year. Everybody's going to eat in this offense. Now, sometimes there might be the Mike Evans game. Other times it'll be the Chris Godwin game. But I think consistently, based on what we saw from training camp day in and day out, Baker to Mike, Mike's good. That's not a breaking news to anybody. But they have this telepathy this year, Scott. They have the chemistry that you saw with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, both with the Bucs and the Patriots, with Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. I see that to a degree with Mike and Baker Mayfield. And hopefully, if it's anything like it was in training camp, Mike may get like over 1,500 yards this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's only going to get better between those two, right? We didn't see much disappointment from that Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans connection last year. And I think Baker, attributes a lot of his $100 million contract to Mike, right? I mean, out of those 28 touchdowns, Mike Evans caught 13 of them. So that's almost half. So I believe that we're going to see that connection pick up right where it left off from last year. And I don't see any type of drop off from Mike Evans. He had a phenomenal training camp again. The team was smart in how they used him and didn't use him. And I expect him to just have a phenomenal season. And I think Chris Godwin's going to have a good season too. It goes back to what Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator, has said. It's players, not plays, right? When it comes down to those crunch time situations, trust your players. And Baker Mayfield now in year 2 with Mike, with Chris, now with Jalen McMillan, with Cade Otton for year 2, with Rachaad White for year 2, and Trey Palmer. Man, I think Baker's in for a big year as well.
I agree. I agree tenfold. And again, because of Liam Cohen, and I just want to go back to one thing about Mike, but it plays in with Baker Mayfield as well. There was a play. It was red zone drills when we were in Jacksonville, when it was Bucs against the Jaguars during those practices. You could see it on our social media. You can see it on our Twitter and our Instagram. Probably a little bit easier to access through our Instagram at the moment. But there was like almost a pick play where Mike Evans was in motion, and he was able to just get open, nobody around him, and Baker just went boop, right to him. Easy peasy type of touchdown. I think there will be easier touchdowns for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Baker Mayfield this year. Yeah. And that's a scary thought because Mike Evans scored 13 touchdowns. Nobody besides Tyreek Hill scored more touchdowns than Mike Evans. Tyreek Hill didn't even get over Mike Evans. They have the same amount of 13.
Right.
But some of those touchdowns Mike had, he had to fight for position, sometimes with extended play. If Mike is getting easy touchdowns, I mean, God bless the rest of the NFC, especially the NFC South, because that is a dangerous proposition for opponents for sure.
Yeah. And the thing too with Mike is and Bailey Adams had a great article on Pewter Report about the fact that Mike is still chasing some of these records, right? He's not done. Right. He's got another 1,000-yard season ahead of him here. And he's looking to climb that ladder in terms of the all-time greats. But when it comes to touchdowns, and this is a touchdown he caught against the Eagles on Monday Night Football last year, he wants to beat Randy Moss's single season record. I mean, that's one of his stated goals. And I think the record is 22 touchdowns, courtesy of Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. But I'm not saying it's out of the equation. If you look at the 13 he produced last year, he did have touchdowns he dropped against the Eagles back in week 3 and also against the Bears.
Yes.
It wasn't the Bears. It was the Titans. He had a drop against the Titans. So those are 2 drops right there. Now you're at 15. There were, I want to say 2 more. Was it Texans and Colts where he was tackled at the 1-yard line? Right. So so now you're at 17. So it's not out of the question that this guy could approach 20 touchdowns in a given season. He's 6'5". He still has the hops. He can get up there and high point the ball. And the more that Jalen McMillan shows up in the red zone and Cade Otton shows up in the red zone and Chris Godwin shows up in the red zone, the more you have defensive coordinators saying, we really can't draw all this attention to Mike. We got to spread it out. We got to play maybe some zone defense because these other guys, if we're doubling Mike, can hurt us too. And Baker Mayfield's got the easiest job, believe it or not, which is throw to the open guy. It's really that simple. When you have this many weapons on offense, it becomes that easy.
Yeah, that's very interesting because it kind of all balances itself out, right? Like if they're doubling Mike, then it's great opportunities for everyone you just mentioned. But on the flip side, one thing that may hurt Mike specifically, but will be better for the Bucs as a team, they couldn't run the ball in the red zone, specifically at the goal line. So now imagine they actually get some traction and a push up front, and Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, and who knows, maybe even Sean Tucker are actually able to punch it in from the 5-yard line. That'll hurt Mike from a touchdown production standpoint, but be way better for the team overall. Sure. So I am very interested to see
but you know what?
How that will play out.
You're right, Matt. And I expect Mike Evans's touchdown production to explode over the second half of the season. I think we're going to see Jalen McMillan, Cade Otton, some of these guys getting fed early touchdowns because of the attention that defensive coordinators are going to put on Mike and put on Chris at the start of the season. And to your point, those rushing touchdowns are going to accumulate early on. Yeah. What's going to happen then? Then you have the safeties, instead of splitting out wide and covering the deep part of those end zones within the 5-yard line. Now those safeties have to kind of come down in the box and protect the in between the tackle runs that you're going to see Tampa Bay have, just like what Rachaad White scored on in that Dolphins preseason finale. And so with those safeties coming in, that just creates those one-on-one opportunities for jump balls, fades, flag routes, whatever, for Mike Evans. And I expect his touchdowns to kind of explode in the second half of the season. And maybe after the first 7 games from game 10 on, or I should say from game 7 on, you'll see Evans really kind of explode and be that guy. But he's going to get a lot of double coverage early until Baker Mayfield hits some of these guys and loosens things up.
Yeah, the fade passes and things of that nature at the goal line were one of the many things that made Tom Brady and Mike Evans so great together as a quarterback wide receiver combination. And we didn't see that as much last year with Baker and Mike, where I think a lot of us wanted to see it just a little bit more. So hopefully that returns this season. We got a super chat from Jonas Garea. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat, who says, praying the Bucs are good. University of Florida, a disaster. Yeah, that was one of the few games I was on the move going to my next destination when the Miami-Florida game started. So when I got to a TV and I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like they're already down 20 with a couple minutes to go in the third quarter. So Florida State, Florida may end up being appointment television for all the wrong reasons. Like it's like just watching a bad movie and seeing how comically bad.
Well, there's bowl games, and then there's like the toilet bowl. And back in the day when Kansas State and Kansas sucked, it was called the toilet bowl because neither one of those teams were going to a bowl. Usually that was like the only win that either one of those teams was going to get back in the 80s. So I hate to say that we're there for Florida State at this point in the season, but it looks grim for Florida, certainly with the schedule that they have with Florida State. Their offense has got to get fixed quickly. DJ is not the answer. But let's focus back on the Buccaneers.
Hey, they super chat us.
That's right.
Super chat us. We get to it.
Exactly.
We'll do one more super chat and then we'll get into roll call. I know it's 4:19, but we'll be a little fashionably late. Thank you to Loomis for this $5 super chat, €1, I believe. Says leaning towards Daniels having a more Bryce Young than CJ Stroud year because of the weapons around him. Interesting take. What's the biggest threat outside of Terry McLaurin? Scary Terry, as they call him.
But I tell you, Jaden Daniels, he has pinpoint accuracy. He's a better quarterback than Bryce Young is. He just is. He was a better quarterback last year than Bryce Young ever was at Alabama, in my opinion. The thing that Jaden Daniels can do that Bryce Young can't is this, the rush, the take off from the pocket, where most quarterbacks might get 7 yards, he's going to get 17. He's just incredibly fast. He's elusive. He's slippery. He's smart when he runs. He finds the open lane. He gets the most yardage possible before sliding down, going out of bounds, etc. He's just a very smart, cerebral quarterback. So between that and his pinpoint accuracy as a passer, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback out of this draft period. Better than Caleb Williams, better than J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. He's going to be the best, in my opinion. I absolutely loved him from the time really Rachaad White told me about him when he was transferring from Arizona State to LSU. And I watched him his junior year at LSU and then last year, and I've just been a big fan. And you know who else was big fans of Jaden Daniels? The Buccaneers. They really liked him too, going back to that first year at LSU. So he's the real deal. I think he is going to be more like CJ Stroud in terms of his impact. Now, I get what you're saying in terms of the weapons, but here's a great point. And we saw this, Matt, last year. Tank Dell was an okay rookie wide receiver.
So. Right.
And then you throw Noah Brown was wide receiver 3, right? Nico Collins was kind of like a, unheralded wide receiver 1, but he made those players good.
Yes.
And that's what greatness does. Greatness makes average good. It makes good great. And I saw that firsthand living in Kansas City. John Elway hardly had anybody to throw to, but he was John Elway. He elevated everybody around him. And that's what Jaden Daniels is. He is an elevator. And he is going to elevate the play of McLaurin. Keep an eye on Ben Sennett from my alma mater, Kansas State.
Yep.
He's a player. He's a player. I think he's the next Sam Laporta. Brian Robinson in the running game, they've got a lot of sneaky good weapons in Washington. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow because we have our show tomorrow that's really dedicated to that. But there's a lot for Jaden Daniels to work with, but it's the legs and the escapability and the mobility that he has over Bryce Young that I think is going to make
exactly. It's his legs helping him be successful, but not just being a guy that is going to tuck in and run. Like you just mentioned CJ Stroud a moment ago. CJ Stroud is very mobile, and I think one of his best abilities, and you see it with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is great for several reasons, but you saw it with Jaden Daniels too, is that just buying a couple of extra seconds by getting out of the pocket, avoiding a sack, and letting receivers, because once everything breaks down, you extend the play by a couple of seconds, a receiver is able to break off of the guy if it's man-to-man or find that pocket in the zone, and that's what Daniels is going to be able to do, even if he doesn't have the top guys. I mean, some of the other receivers besides Terry McLaurin, you have Luke McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother, so you know there's speed there. Olamide Zaccheaus, who played for the Falcons previously, who the Bucs are a little familiar with. You mentioned the running backs. Also, Austin Eckler, who somehow finds a way, one way or another. So, if anything, Washington has speed on this offense, starting with the quarterback, which can really help them on Sunday against the Bucs.
Exactly. You know what time it is? It's not Monday, but it's Tuesday. It's the first show of the week. We do this little thing called
Roll Call. That's right. We want to know, where are you at, Pewter people? We have such great fans all across the globe, and we love interacting with all of you. So one of the ways we do that is every first episode of the week. This week it happens to be on a Tuesday, around 4:20. Sometimes we're fashionably late. We do roll call, where if you want to put in the chat where you're watching the show from, we will put it up on the screen and find out where some of you awesome Pewter people are watching the show from. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about Bucs special teams and special teams in the NFL, while Scott will put up the locations up on the screen. So Scott, whenever you're ready, I will get into some special teams discussions with the Buccaneers. So we actually spoke to special teams coach Thomas McGahee on Monday, which was a nice treat. You know, we've had a lot of Todd Bowles throughout training camp. Haven't spoken to McGahee as much, but he's a very good guy. Talking to him, intrigued about, because this is but this is one of the more unique experiences for coaches across the league, with a new rule that is really changing the way that the game is played, specifically in the kickoff situation. So, you know, that's a challenge for the special teams coaches across the league, and McGahee is taking it head on. He joked right away. He's like, I figured it out, which clearly he hasn't yet. But he brought up a really interesting point that has stuck with me over the past couple of days, that even though we saw the kickoffs during the preseason, he said we haven't even seen what it's really going to look like just yet, because teams aren't playing their hand. There's going to be a couple of different tips and tricks that are going to be done that were not shown in the preseason, because as we know, the NFL is a copycat league, and as soon as one team starts doing something, everybody else will follow along. McGahee pointed out a couple of people specifically that have stood out for the Bucs in coverage, and he mentioned Chris Braswell right away, the second-round pick for the Buccaneers out of Alabama. Braswell has been a guy that has just taken it to it like a fish to water, and he said the biggest thing is that this special teams play, it's not even really a special teams play, it's just the first defensive play of the game. And he said because Braswell and what he does at outside linebacker, he's been able to channel that in his coverage on special teams as well. Also, we mentioned it before, the depth chart came out for the Buccaneers today, and we saw this during the preseason, so not exactly the most shocking things, but it looks like Bucky Irving is going to be the main guy on kick return along with Sean Tucker. I think this is a great opportunity, obviously, for Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker, who are a rookie and second-year player in the league. But I'm also excited for, I'm not going to call it a resurgence of the running back, but we've seen how the running back role has been diminished to a degree in the NFL, with just using several running backs instead of just having one bell cow, and the emergence of the passing game kind of takes away from the running back a little bit. So I do appreciate that these new kickoffs, teams that will try to take advantage of the new kickoff rules, we'll see an expanded role for a running back, which is great to see. And then it looks like the main punt returner is going to be Trey Palmer. However, Trey Palmer practice on Monday with a non-contact jersey. We'll see how he looks on Wednesday and Thursday. But if Trey Palmer, for whatever reason, doesn't play against Washington, Cameron Johnson is the next guy up. Jalen McMillan is third string on kick return. I want Trey Palmer to be healthy. I want him to contribute on this team. But damn it, I want to see Cameron Johnson return some punts this season. So hopefully everybody's healthy, but I hope we get a chance to see Cameron Johnson return some punts because we didn't get to in the preseason. He only played in that last game, and the one that he had, he wasn't able to return. So just some special teams info for all the Bucs fans out there as we get ready for week 1.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, too, when you get ready for week 1 of NFL football and also heading into week 2 of college football is where to go when you want some great food, some great drinks, and some great TVs to watch the action. And that place, of course, is Walk-Ons.
Game day at Walk-Ons is just different. And it starts with the way our teammates prep each dish from our scratch menu. No shortcuts. We are hand-cutting every single mozzarella log straight from the block. Hand-peeling, stuffing, and bacon wrapping each voodoo shrimp. Hand-carving ribeyes for our steaks and po' boys. And hand-slicing, then tossing our boneless wings in our house-made sauces. With wall-to-wall TVs and food like this, why would you want to watch anywhere else? That's game day. The Walk-Ons way.
Hey, folks, Tuesday is the day to be at Walk-Ons. I mean, every day is, but Tuesday's even better. Why? Because it's all-day happy hour. That's right. It doesn't just end at 6 o'clock, folks. It goes all the way through till close. That includes $5 Tito's, $3 happy hour pours, $3.99 domestic pints, $4 house wine, $5.49 22-ounce domestic drafts, some great food options, $6 fried pickle, $6 small waffle cheese fries, $7 boom boom shrimp and queso dip, $8 boneless wings, and my favorite, the $8 cheeseburger sliders. So make sure you get to Walk-Ons to watch football. They've got it all season long, more TVs than you can possibly imagine, great food, fantastic prices, especially during happy hour. Happy hour from Mondays is from 3 to close, also on Fridays, 3 to close. But tomorrow, which is Wednesday and Thursday, you can enjoy happy hour twice from 3 to 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. to close. 3 locations in the Tampa Bay area, up here in Lutz, Wesley Chapel area, across from the Outlet Mall. Also Midtown Tampa, down by the stadium, and Lakeland. So make sure you are enjoying happy hour and your football at Walk-Ons.
Got a couple super chats to get to. One gargantuan one, but Revfish has been waiting. So thank you to Revfish for this $4.99 super chat, who says, McMillan is so important. You can't cover 3 quality wide receivers. Also, Tucker needs to get short yardage power like Brett used to have. Would be huge. Yeah. I'm not against, maybe not even Sean Tucker, but I wouldn't be against Bucky Irving getting some of those short yardage situations, just the way that he's been so explosive, hitting the hole early on. Obviously, he has to prove it in the regular season too. But yeah, I'm not against using a different running back, even if it's Rachaad White's series on offense. I'd be okay with using another running back too.
Matt, that's a great point. The interesting thing too is back in my day when it was Thunder and Lightning or WD-40, whatever you want to call it, you had big old Mike Allstott, the A-Train, right? Yeah, the A-Train, who is 6'1", 248 pounds of anvil, as John Gruden used to call him. But then you had little tiny Warwick Dunn before John Gruden got there. Mm-hmm. He was a small back, 5'8", about 178 pounds. And where Allstott was big and kind of that battering ram to get you that 1 yard on 3rd and 1, Warwick Dunn was also sneaky because he could hide behind the offensive lineman and kind of squirt through the holes a little bit. He didn't need that bigger hole. So I think Bucky Irving, even though he's about 15 pounds bigger than Warwick Dunn was, he's still a small back. And he's tough. He's got that Warwick Dunn toughness between the tackles. He might be another good option on short yardage because he didn't need a hole. He just needs a crease, and he can get that necessary yard or two. So they have a couple of options. Rachaad White is one, but I like your suggestion there too, Matt. I think we might see Bucky Irving in some of those downs as well.
Yeah, I got lost seeing Bucky at times in training camp. There was a run play, and there was a group of offensive and defensive linemen all in the mix. Sometimes you lose Bucky, and sometimes in those short yard situations, you're able to bust a big run because you have all these defenders up at the line of scrimmage and linebackers too. That if you get past the initial hole, then you're off to the races. Yeah. But anyway, let's get to this super chat. A $49.99 super chat from Peter Bernardi. So thank you so much, Peter, for this very, very generous super chat. As Peter goes on to say, Scott, I'm going to New Orleans in October. What's that steakhouse you said has the best steak you've ever had? On a football note, do you think Liam Cohen can be a guy that can innovate something new and give us an edge over the rest of the league?
I'll answer the second part of the question first. And thank you so much, Peter. This is an outstanding super chat, by the way. Thank you. I believe that Liam Cohen is a brilliant offensive mind. I really do. Is he going to innovate things? Is he going to be a Sean McVay type creator? I think he can take what Sean McVay started and put his little spins and tweaks on it. It's going to make it a little different, but I don't think there's going to be a sea change as there was, like, say, when Bill Walsh invented the West Coast offense, right? Which is kind of now kind of been a bastard-sized version of what the Rams offense is with Sean McVay's attack. But I like Liam Cohen. I think he's going to be a head coach, maybe a Todd Bowles successor here in Tampa one day. Maybe he'll get a head coaching job beforehand. I don't know. Todd Bowles is a bit of a kingmaker, Matt. It looked like Dave Canales last year. So I think he's got a bright future here in Tampa for sure this year. I suspect they're going to score more points than they did with Dave Canales last year. I predict 24 points per game, which is another field goal on the board. And that would make Tampa Bay's offense, depending on how the rest of the league scores, somewhere between maybe 8 and 12 in terms of the top 10 in scoring. To your point about New Orleans, I have some sad news to report. Jean Lafitte's Steakhouse, which I think was called Jean Lafitte's Bistro, and that's Jean, Jean, Lafitte, Laifitte, if I'm spelling it correctly. I think I am. I think it's been closed. But I had the best filet mignon of my life there. It was fantastic. I remember when I ordered it, the short story is I wanted the steak. The waiter recommended the filet, and I said, well, I like filet, but I also like a ribeye or something like a little bit more flavorful. And he said, this is going to be the best steak you'll ever eat. And if it's not, and you have to be honest with me, if it's not the best steak you'll ever eat, I will buy your dinner for you. So in other words, you'll have a free steak, but you have to be honest. I said, okay, fine. He brings it out and he brought a butter knife rather than a steak knife. And I said, excuse me, I need a steak knife. He's like, I gave you a steak knife. And I used the butter knife and the fork. It was the most flavorful steak I've ever had. It's still number one on my list. And he came back and he said, is that the best steak you've ever had? And I said, yes, it was. I couldn't lie. I didn't want the free steak. I wanted to pay for it. It was the best steak I've ever had. So unfortunately, I think R.I.P. Jean Lafitte's is no more. But there's plenty of good food in New Orleans. That is a foodie town.
Damn, that kind of makes me upset.
I know.
R.I.P. Jean Lafitte's. But
yeah, but I don't check it out. I just did a quick Google search, and I think it's closed. But dive deeper. Maybe it's still open somewhere.
Thank you nonetheless for the super chat, Peter Bernardi, and also thank you to Hammy Actual, who just became a
all right
YouTube channel member, who follows that up with "Let's Ride."
Yes,
we love to see it, Hammy Actual. Thank you.
Yep. This would also be a very good time to welcome our other new members on the Pewter Report TV channel. So we want to thank our new Pewter Report TV channel members: Sharkles, Philip Jarrock, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Brandon Riley. And also thank you to Sacktown for upgrading his membership over the weekend to Permuter, or to the Pewter Premier member. So we greatly appreciate that. Always, every show, we always thank our Pewter Report channel members. That's Guru, Scott Federico, Parformance 2, and Scotty J. Thank you so much. And then we have the running banner here with all of our Pewter Premier members as well. So we'll let this roll on. We've got a lot of them. If you guys want to join Pewter Report TV and become a channel member, we certainly invite you to do so. It's a great way to show your support and become a channel member here at Pewter Report TV. There are plenty of options to choose from. You can become a Pewter People member for $3.99, a Pewter Pro member for $6.99, Pewter Premier member for $9.99, and the Pewter Platinum member for $24.99. You can see all of the different options that you have there with the different perks and benefits. You can also go to the join button, hit that join button on the front page of Pewter Report TV for the same in-depth description of what these different memberships entail. But it's a great way to support us here and also get some cool perks. All of them have loyalty badges and custom emojis. If you're a Pewter Pro member or higher, you get early access to our videos, including my Pewter Pulse. It has dropped the latest one yesterday on Baker Mayfield. And then if you are a Pewter Premier member or a Pewter Platinum member, you have some more perks, such as weekly shout outs, which we are giving you guys right now, and exclusive video that we do every Friday, Matt and I. It's a great insider video. We've gotten some great feedback on this as well. And the new time for these videos that we call Pewter Insider is going to be Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to join our live show, you can do it then. It's about a 30-minute program, and it's right here on Pewter Report TV. If you don't have time to do that, you can also watch the archive version for members only. And this, again, is for Pewter Premier and Pewter Platinum members. So our topic on Friday will be all eyes on Graham Barton. We'll have the latest scoop and some stuff that we didn't reveal on our Pewter Report podcast and our Pewter Report stories for our Pewter Insiders. This is an every Friday at 1:30 endeavor, and we're looking forward to doing this again for you Pewter Premier and Platinum members. And one more last little plug here. This is important. Pewter Pregame has got a different time this year, 9 a.m. on game days. So obviously when the games are on Sunday, it'll be on Sunday. If it's a Thursday night game, this will be a 9 a.m. Thursday or a 9 a.m. Monday for Monday Night Football feature, where it'll be about a 30-minute pregame show. Yours truly and Matt Matera will be hosting this Pewter Pregame show. So this gives you more time if you are, say you're going to the game. You can watch the Pewter Pregame show before you head out, or maybe on the way to the stadium, or even in the stadium. And so it's not going to be right up to kickoff like it has been in years past. But then right at kickoff time, Pewter Game Day, Matt Matera, Liam Mitchell from Pewter Report will be having all of the action and all of the insight in context that is going to be Buccaneer specific and Buccaneer centric for you guys. And that's going to be right at kickoff at 4:25. You can join us at 4:20. That's when we'll go live. But we encourage everybody to tune in to Pewter Game Day. Watch the TV broadcast, but listen to Pewter Game Day.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming up. Very excited to get back into it with the Pewter Game Days. Had a great time with all of you, the Pewter people, last season. I think it'll be even better this year around, especially as the Bucs are expected to play a little bit better too. Also have another new YouTube channel member. Thank you to Jeff Goodrich, who became a YouTube channel member. So we really appreciate that. We really appreciate this super chat of $20 from Jacob as well, who brings up a great question. As Jacob says, if you could ask one member of the Bucs organization, parentheses, player, coach, front office, ownership, past or present, one question, and this person was forced to give you a truthful answer.
Wow.
What would the question be, and who would you ask?
Wow.
That's a great question. I saw it a little bit before. I've been trying to rack my brain because I have so many questions that I want to ask.
Yeah. I would say, golly, there's a couple that kind of come to mind immediately. I would love to ask the Glazers, what was the definitive, I think I know why, but what was the definitive reason why they fired John Gruden as late as they did? Because they fired him well into, where I think it was like January 17th. It was like almost 3 weeks after the end of the season. They fired John Gruden and Bruce Allen. And I think I know what it was, but I'd love to hear it from them. And of course, they wouldn't tell me what the real answer was, but in this premise, they would be forced to tell me the truth. So I think that comes to number one. I would also maybe like to ask Bo Jackson, if he ever really considered, like later, I know he played for the Raiders, and of course he had a baseball career with the Kansas City Royals. I saw him play live, living in Kansas City. But did he ever maybe regret or have any second thoughts about playing for the Buccaneers? Because that was the big thing, was when the Hugh Culverhouse regime sent a private plane for Bo Jackson to bring him to Tampa for a meet and greet with the team officials or whatever. That actually was a violation of the NCAA back in the time. And that made Bo Jackson ineligible to finish out his career playing Tigers baseball, because he was a baseball player as well as a football player. That really pissed off Bo Jackson. And because Hugh Culverhouse did that, He said, I'll never play for the Buccaneers. So if you draft me, you're wasting the number 1 overall pick because I'm never going to play for you. And so what do the Buccaneers do? They drafted Bo Jackson number 1 overall, and he never played it down for them. And the Oakland Raiders definitely drafted Bo Jackson, I think, in the final round the next year. And they owned his rights. And so he ended up playing some football for the Raiders and being that dual sports legend that he was for his time back in the 80s.
Those are some great ones.
How about you, Matt?
Mine are a little more towards, you covered the Bucs longer than me. So some of the ones that initially come to mind for me, a lot centered around Tom Brady. I'd love to get his thoughts about like what truly went on with how he thought about Bruce being a little more hands-off compared to like working with Belichick. I don't think he actually got Bruce fired, but like what was the disconnect with Bruce leaving at a very awkward time?
Interesting
and Todd Bowles
time
coming through.
Matt, you and I were there down in Palm Beach at the NFL owners meeting, expecting to see Bruce Arians, and he abruptly leaves and then retires like the next day.
Yeah, I would also
In
want
March.
Tom's perspective on his relationship with Antonio Brown and what he thought about when AB went peace in that game against the Jets. Mike Evans, I would love to get his opinion on, I want him to rank it 2 different things. Who he enjoyed playing with the most in terms of his quarterbacks between Johnny Manziel, Jameis, Tom Brady, and Baker. Who he enjoyed playing with the most as far as production on the field.
Right.
And who did he get along with the most as far as off the field? I think that would be great. And I'd love to talk to either Todd Bowles or Antoine Winfield Jr., probably Winfield, about the play against the Rams in the 2021 divisional round. What was the true miscommunication that led to Cooper Kupp being that open down the field? So those are a couple that I would think of.
That's a great question.
That's a great question, Jacob. And thank you for it, because I really had to rack my brain for a lot of things.
We have great super chats from great fans and not just fans from here in Florida, but from all over. And that's why we love doing, usually on Mondays, but in today's situation, because Monday was a holiday, we do roll call on a Tuesday, and we have some great fans. So let's get to some of their locations. We want to thank Cat Buck 88, who is a Pewter Report channel member, for tuning in Dunedin. And then Peter Bernardi from my old stopping grounds back in Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri, on the Kansas side. Me, Sador, I'm at work. FML. I got you. We've got David, who's up here in Wesley Chapel, my neck of the woods, as well as Kathy Gillespie. Z Hills in the house, Zephyr Hills. I'm just down the road from Zephyr Hills. I'm in Zephyr Hills all the time. Great food there in Zephyr Hills area. Michael Wags, Charlotte, North Carolina, heading to Tampa for game day Sunday. That's awesome. We'd love to see those out-of-state fans come into Tampa and watch your Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. Jameer Davis, Atlanta, Georgia. Forget the Falcons. He is in enemy territory, loving the Buccaneers, and we love that. Not just him, but also money-making Mitch, Atlanta, Georgia. Go Bucs, 1-0 incoming. We have Henry Gigante, who is a Pewter Report channel member, currently on I-75, exit 210. Will drive safe. It's starting to rain up here in the Wesley Chapel area. And, of course, Sledgerin, who's on Bruce B. Downs, up here also in Wesley Chapel, or maybe in New Tampa. So greatly appreciate everybody from tuning in to Roll Call on Mondays and Tuesdays. We love hearing from you guys.
Let's keep the super chats rolling in. Thanks to Brad Sylvain for the $4.99 super chat. Brad says, are you concerned we are going into the season with unproven pass rushers? We hope Yaya can become a dominant force, but the rest have a lot to prove.
You know, it's a great point, Brad. And this is a big reason why we were so excited to do the show and do what we knew what was coming. Because Yaya Diaby, when we saw him, Matt, come out and watch practice for the first time, which was a couple of days after he had that ankle sprain in training camp, and he didn't have a boot on, didn't even have a neoprene sleeve on his ankle. That was a good sign. That was a really good sign. They're counting on him to be the sack master this year from the outside and lead the outside linebackers. Maybe not lead the team. We'll see what Kalijah Cansey has to say about that. But really kind of get after the quarterback, set the edge in the run game, and really just kind of lock down his side of the field. I think you're going to see Yaya more on the right side of the defensive line where he's going up against the left tackle, attacking that blind side of the quarterback. Remember in that Jacksonville Jaguars game, Matt, on Christmas Eve, Yaya Diaby had the trifecta, had the first of his career, I think the first of many, the sack, the forced fumble, the fumble recovery on Trevor Lawrence coming from that blind side. So this guy was a dominant force in the first, 9 practices before he got hurt. He was giving Luke Gedeke fits from the left side and giving Tristan Wirfs all he could handle on the right side. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year this season. Yaya Diaby, they need him to be what people expect him to be, which is a double-digit sacker this year. If he's not, then you're really going to have to rely on Todd Bowles' wizardry, cobbling sacks, 4.5 from Levante David again, 6 from Antoine, a couple from Tyke Smith blitzing, and that's still going to happen. But, Matt, it's a lot easier when you have a double-digit sacker, whether it was Shaq Barrett back in the day or JPP, or having Yaya Diaby possibly do it here in 2024.
Yeah, the Bucs haven't really had that true blue go and get him pass rusher, go and get him after the quarterback, of course, I'm talking about, since Shaq in really 2021, I would say. So it's been a couple of seasons since the Bucs have truly seen that, which of course makes the defense orchestrated by Todd Bowles that much better. I think Yaya can get 10 sacks this year. I mean, we also have to remember that he didn't really bring all this production until later in the season. So now he's going to have 17 games to do it as the starting outside linebacker for the Bucs. And he's just a gargantuan human being. Like, he'll always be known for his power a little bit more than his speed. But I think with Yaya's ability to get into the backfield as much as he can, even if that flushes Jaden Daniels out to the other side, that's where I think JTS will be able to clean things up and not allow Jaden Daniels to eviscerate the Bucs by scrambling a ton. Right. At least, hopefully, that's what Bucs fans hope for. So, obviously, containing is going to be very important with Jaden Daniels. But, yeah, if Yaya gets in Jaden Daniels' head just a little bit, it could do a lot for this team on Sunday specifically. And I think it's going to be a big year for Yaya. I mean, Brian Baldinger always points out the stunts that him and Kalijah will do. It's going to be a group effort, but I think Yaya will be kind of the face of it, really.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about the Washington Commanders a lot tomorrow because they are the first opponent for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're going to be the big-time topic tomorrow on our show. Yeah. Bucs versus Commanders preview, 4 o'clock Eastern time here on Pewter Report TV. Make sure that you tune into that show. It's going to be a good one. We're really going to dive deep into some of these matchups here, and there's a lot of them to kind of get to. So we'll talk more about Yaya Diaby and the role that he'll play tomorrow on the show. And we also have a Pewter Report podcast coming for you on Thursday, and we'll be live. Matt and I, Adam Slavon, a couple other Pewter reporters will be down at the team facility tomorrow, One Buccaneer Place, and Thursday, getting all the interviews and the news and the press conferences and the practice reports. So make sure you stick to Pewter Report TV for your video coverage, for those practice clips, and also pewterreport.com for our stories.
Thank you to Kathy Gillespie for this $4.99 super chat, kind of staying on topic. Says, let's talk Yaya and how we are going to stop this rookie. Worried about the secondary and the deep ball. Well, we talked about Yaya returning to practice. Why don't we just play the video of Yaya warming up? And if we have any medical professionals out there that want to say how Yaya is looking with his ankle, please let us know. The first half of the video, there's no volume because we don't want to be copyrighted by the music that the Bucs are playing at practice. Right. So just fair warning for everyone.
When you come down.
Diaby.
There we go. There we go.
I
He's
had
ready.
to throw that in at the end.
He's ready. Yaya Diaby. Listen, here's the thing. I'm not a medical professional, but I do have two eyes, and occasionally, I'll need some glasses, right, to see what I'm actually talking about. I didn't need these glasses to see. He's jumping up and down. He's hopping on one leg on that ankle. He looks like he's ready to go. The beauty of this too, Matt, is the Bucs had that bonus practice yesterday. They had the day off today. So if there's any type of swelling or any type of soreness, he's going to be off that leg today. He'll let the trainers know about it, and they can kind of ease him into practice Wednesday and Thursday. But my guess is he's probably going to be ready to go. We'll see him out there full go tomorrow for Wednesday's practice.
Yeah, and I'm sure we get the first injury report of the week tomorrow, and there'll be one on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Don't be alarmed when Yaya will be on it. He'll probably be, questionable or something for the first couple of days. Don't worry about it too much. There might even be a practice where Yaya doesn't participate. That doesn't mean he's not going to play in the game because all signs are pointing to that he will. And like we said, like not hobbling or anything like that. Even if you need a little bit of like a pick-me-up to play in the game, he'll probably just have a Celsius energy drink before the game gets going. Of course, Celsius has some new great flavors with the sparkling watermelon lemonade and the sparkling kiwi strawberry. Some great, great flavors. We love all the flavors of Celsius. So if you need to know where to find the Celsius energy drink, head on over to the Celsius store website, punch in your address, and tell you the closest location where you can pick one up. Could be a Walmart, a health and fitness store, a Publix, a 7-Eleven, or your bodega. And if you want to buy Celsius in bulk, which I'd strongly recommend, you can do so over on Amazon. I'd recommend purchasing the variety pack because variety is the spice of life. And there's so many awesome flavors of Celsius. You don't need to limit yourself to just one flavor. So, you can have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com.
Yep. Just a quick reminder, we've got a lot of great content coming your way on Pewter Report TV this week. Of course, our show tomorrow is going to be Bucs versus Commanders at 4 o'clock. Then on Sunday, two distinctly different shows, both worth your time. Pewter pregame at 9 o'clock, September 8th, right here on Pewter Report TV, as well as Pewter Game Day. And that's going to be at 4:20 is when you want to join the program. Of course, kickoff is at 4:25. So right here on Pewter Report TV. You'll also be able to see these streaming on X as well as Facebook and also pewterreport.com. But we would love for you to check it out here on YouTube as well, as we are now over 15,400 subscribers. And there's another way you can actually catch all of the Pewter Report content. That's with the Autograph app. That's right. You guys have said, when are you guys coming out with the Pewter Report app? Our answer has always been never, because we're not doing it. But here's the cool thing. Autograph's doing it for us. You can read the Pewter Report news. You can watch the Pewter Report podcasts and get rewarded all in one free app. That's right. This is free app to download, free app to use. You can download it for your iPhone at the App Store. And you can also download it for your Android on Google Play. So download the Autograph Fandom Rewarded app. And every time you read stories, whether it's ours or other Bucs content, you can do that as well. You can pick a channel, whether it's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or for me, I like Kansas State. That's my alma mater. So I've got a Kansas State channel on there where it has all of the news for the Wildcats on there from different sources as well. So all of the news in one app. It's fantastic. And every time you read something or watch a podcast, you get rewarded in points, and you can use those points to cash in for tickets and merchandise. So it's a great way to get rewarded. That's right. This is co-founded by Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl MVP and legendary quarterback Tom Brady. He also played for the Patriots, supposedly, but he is also the Bucs quarterback. So check out the Autograph Fandom Rewarded app. You won't regret it. All of the Pewter Report content, all in one app. And our Pewter Report podcast as well. So highly recommend you check out Autograph.
By the way, thank you to this Pewter Report YouTube channel member, Joel L. Rican, for the $5 super chat, who says, "Hail to SR, Matt, and my fellow Pewter people." Thank you for the super chat, Joel. Glad you are here chatting some Buccaneers football with us. It's crazy to think that the regular season has arrived. As we said at the beginning of the show, there's a game on Thursday. Chiefs Ravens, or I guess I should say Ravens Chiefs, the home team second, who the Bucs both play this year, and then the Brazil game, even though none of the players want to be in Brazil.
That's right.
Which of course the Bucs play the Eagles this year, and you never know, they could end up playing the Packers in the postseason this year. So yeah, it's just great that football is back. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. You already talked about the game day show and things like. I think what's really important, especially for the pregame, it's on at 9:00.
Yeah.
You may be busy on Sunday. The Bucs don't play until 4:25. You may be busy until 3:00, 3:15.
Yeah.
You can still watch the pregame show.
That's right.
That's why we're doing it early. We obviously love when you guys are live, but we understand that there's tons of fans that aren't able to watch live. But you can it'll be out for plenty of time for everybody to consume if you want.
Join us live at 9:00 too. We'll have that show 9:00 every game day. So whether it's a Sunday, a Monday, or Thursday, 9:00. Just get that in your heads. That's when the Pewter pregame show will be on, and you can join us live. And if you're looking for a place to go for the game, well, maybe. That's right. You can pick up walk-ons to go, whether you're having a tailgate party at your house or at the stadium. Get it catered with walk-ons. 3 locations to serve you. You can go to walkons.com for their ordering apparatus and their menu to check out, as well as the 3 locations in Tampa. Wesley Chapel, Lutz up here in my neck of the woods, Midtown Tampa by the stadium, and Lakeland as well.
Yeah, make sure you check it out. Also, make sure you check out all of our content on Pewter Report. You can follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Scott has a lot of Pewter Pulses out. We have various content from the Bucs facility. We have the Yaya Diaby practicing video out, which is done well too. Of course, the podcast. We have the exclusive Pewter Insider, the live Q&A, coming up on Friday for Premier and Platinum members. So a lot of fun content coming out. More to come as the week rolls on, as we speak to Bucs players and personnel this week. So we are here. Week 1 has arrived.
We got a couple more comments here I want to get to.
Sure.
So Charlie Abrahams says, 2 Drew Brees commercials. What is a slap in the face? Remember, first of all, walk-ons are our partner, so we have to show them some love. It's a great place to go watch the game and eat. I'm a staple at walk-ons. I'm usually there once or twice a week up here at the Wesley Chapel location across from the Outlet Mall. Keep in mind, every time you see Drew Brees on the show, his last pass was intercepted by Mike Edwards of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And his last game was a loss at home in the NFC divisional round to your eventual Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. So don't be mad or upset whenever you see Drew Brees. Understand that he helped make a good restaurant, and they've got a couple locations here in Tampa. So every time you go to walk-ons, just take a big bite of that buffalo chicken sandwich and say, yeah, we beat Drew Brees, his last game as a New Orleans Saint, and enjoy it and savor it. Also, too, yes, that's right. Drew Brees gave us a playoff win. We owe him. We've got some love here from Game On, who says the perfect time to tune in is at 9 a.m. while we're starting to prepare for game day. That's right. So it's a great time to check out the Pewter pregame show, and then, of course, Pewter game day later on Sunday. And Henry Gigante says, you got my name right.
Hey,
B. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you all for our Pewter Report channel members like Henry. Greatly appreciate your support as well. And Matt, the cool thing is we're going to be at One Buccaneer Place tomorrow on a Wednesday. We have a game coming up on Sunday, and we have another Pewter Report podcast coming out tomorrow at 4:00.
Yes, we do. Looking forward to it all. So that'll do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. And we will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.